Justin, Justin, I'll hand it over to you to begin the session.
Thanks, thanks, Emily, and thank you, everyone, for joining. I realise it's been some time since we've communicated in a formal manner, and it's look, that's not been without reason. So perhaps I think it was September last year that we had the last webinar. So let me perhaps pick up from where we left off. And I think, you know, the rationale for some of that lack of communication has been around the sensitivities of the restructuring on the corporate side, which was duly tied into the actions of previous management, which most of you are aware of. Primarily the negotiation of the acquisition of the IP and the software out of Naviso SA, which was our Swiss operating subsidiary. As I mentioned last time around, I put in place a license agreement and first right of refusal to continue to use and have access to the IP and software through the period of uncertainty. And whilst Naviso SA was under the court protection regime, I flew to Lausanne, I think it was August, September last year, to negotiate with the commissaries that represent the bankruptcy office. And we thought we came away with what was quite an elegant outcome with respect to the going concern continuation of the business. But jumped back off the plane and they sort of turned around and made all sorts of requests that basically weren't going to work. So we then allowed the Naviso SA business to go into administration, which was during the mid part of September last year, and began negotiations to acquire the software and IP, which was uncomfortable at the best of times, but we felt confident in the outcome for a couple of reasons. One that we'd put the license agreement in place, which any dispute was to be heard in the courts of Victoria, Australia, and two, we, in the latter part of last year, 23, we started negotiating to purchase the automotive solution from Darwin Digital, who is the engineering firm that the business has historically used for a lot of its software development. They hadn't been paid for the development of that solution. And so we were able to negotiate an agreement whereby we acquired that from Darwin Digital. That was key because that's our most developed product, if you like, working with the European automotive companies. And we felt that by acquiring that, we put ourselves in a very strong position and, in effect, significantly devalued the assets of the estate, because it wouldn't, the sale of the said estate wouldn't come with the automotive solution. So after a lot of back and forth and some heated negotiation, we managed to agree a deal. I think it was in April with the bankruptcy office. We 2 weeks ago executed the contract to purchase the software and the IP and patents. We paid the deposit for that, and that is due to settle mid-June, after the current cooling off period, of which the circular to creditors is distributed. They actually don't get to they actually, it's called a vote, but they don't actually get to vote. So in the absence of a particular creditor looking to buy the assets, which we think is very unlikely, due to the reasons I've just explained, that we've put ourselves in a very strong position, that transaction should settle in the coming weeks. I would ask everyone on here, I hope, is a shareholder and invested, And so I would ask that that all remains within the bounds of this call for the time being. So flipping over to the business, we were able to migrate the customer contracts. Panasonic, I can obviously talk about. So that's been migrated across the Naviso group. PainCheck is in the process of being migrated across the Naviso group, as are the automotive pilots, etc., have all been migrated as well. We're still not in a position to be able to name those, but it's a couple of the, as we've alluded to previously, a couple of the largest German automotive companies. One of those, which is new, since we VV will expand on the technology and what we're doing for them with respect to the in-cabin technology. But it's a new relationship going very well, and we're hoping that'll be our first automotive license agreement. That probably won't be this year, but with any luck will be in the early part of next year. Skipping forward, and I've covered most of my my notes. So yeah, I'd just like to sort of say, I mean, obviously none of where we've got to has, we've still been required to fund the business, and big thank you to Territory Funds Management out of Brisbane, who are one of our. I initially brought them into the stock near on 3 years ago, and they've been extremely supportive as a shareholder and have continued to fund the business and fund the acquisition of the IP and the software. So without them, we wouldn't be where we are. One of our high net worth, Kel McCulloch, who's a friend of mine and also an investor. Kel's efforts also have kept the lights on, and V, who's has worked, gone back and forth between Europe and Australia, and hasn't always been paid on time. And V's has been fantastic to go the distance for us and keep the team motivated and see it through to this position where we're approaching being hopefully in a for the first time in a long while being fully funded, and having visibility and being able to invest into growth, which this business has not been able to do in a considerable amount of time. On the corporate structure, we have incorporated new entities in Switzerland and Japan under the new branding, being BeEmotion for Behavioural Emotion.ai. Those vehicles they're primarily employment vehicles for our staff in Japan and Switzerland. Japan's a little different in that quite often the companies there are required to contract and pay with a local entity, so it does serve a dual purpose in the case of Japan. And I think the rebrand. I mean, most of you have been around for a while and probably don't need to go in depth as to why we felt a new look and new brand and wouldn't say new direction. We're still doing we're still attacking the same verticals with a couple of new verticals actually, which in one in particular in defence, which is fairly interesting, and V will expand on that. So bear with us over the coming days and weeks. We'll try and improve our LinkedIn profile and website and corporate deck and putting some videos together and the like. So bear with us on that. So I think happy to address anything else from a corporate perspective at the end when we hit the Q&A. So please, I'll endeavour to answer as many questions as possible if you'd like to put them onto the Q&A. But I might, and we'll come back and touch on the capital raising endeavours towards the end as well. But I might just hand over to Verpy now to give a bit of an update on where the business has gone and where it is over the last 9 months, and where it's going over the next 12 months and beyond. And we've got a pretty exciting partnership with respect to a multi-modality offering that V's going to touch on as well. So V, over to you.
Okay, thanks, Justin. And just on BeEmotion, I just want to add that obviously we do want to leave the past behind and Enviso behind, but it also, as you know, Enviso refers to computer vision technology and AI, and as we have moved into the multimodal side of it, sort of expanding to doing a lot more than just vision, the human behavior comes from the behavior of the B for that, and emotions that we detect, understand, and analyze emotions. So it also is a very well thought description of what we do moving forward. We discussed these already in September. We went through an exercise to figure out what we actually are here for and what we do. We've refined all of the different solutions, and obviously, as I said, going from just computer vision, which is our strong heritage, and really we are the best in doing that, but also adding the other aspects of AI to really be impactful in what we do. The Discovery AI is a feature-rich standalone edge-based software that we either provide to our customers as a license, or we can also provide a kit including the hardware. So it's an easy plug-in and play for customers to start understanding what AI is capable of, and then we provide our services, our expertise, our decade long of we know what we're doing kind of thing to help them accelerate their AI adoption. The Edge AI is the production grade SDK, which is light, robust, performing software that becomes the actual customized product at the end. I'll talk to what our business development looks like through the markets. We already introduced the three markets to you last time, but we've now added the smart security to the list. But going through all of them. So as Justin mentioned, we've been pretty strong in engaging with the car manufacturers and the automotive industry in general. The mobility solution we have has received such great reviews, and has enabled us to sign these contracts with both German and Japan-based car manufacturers. We've added a fair few to the list. We're basically working with one or two. Last time we spoke, now we're working pretty much with 9-10 of them actively. The really exciting one that we're working on, unfortunately can't name the name because of confidentiality, but the applications of our software are getting more and more towards the comfort and entertainment of the capability of the solution. The driver monitoring is kind of not so important to our customers anymore. They want to focus on the mood and the enjoyment of driving their brand cars. So we have active innovation projects in that space with several customers. But this exciting one that I wanted to mention is where we're working on changing the mood of the driver and passengers by looking at both psychological and physical aspects, of the occupants in the car. And how we do that is basically changing the state of their mood since they come in, or what happens, or during the journey, to a desired state by providing all kind of content in cabin. And also, you know, the car can push out some fresh air if the occupants start looking tired, pump up some music, all that kind of stuff. So that's a really, really cool project, and we're doing leading edge stuff. The head of innovation of the car manufacturers saying that he hasn't seen anything of the scale that what we can do. And that is in partnership, in collaboration with another company, which I'll cover just in a minute. In mobility, we've also got customers in the fleet management side, and also working with the aviation industry. There's really a lot of really exciting projects coming up. Within smart health, we're in business development mode. We're in the process of moving the pain check contracts to BeEmotion, but we're also working with a couple of customers in defining what the great solutions could be for them. In the smart living, where, for instance, our Panasonic relationship falls to the little Nicobo robot that you all are aware of, who've been following our path for the recent years. We've reinvigorated that relationship with Panasonic, and are actually working on several new releases, new features for the robot. So they are getting excited about pushing it further to the market, where so far they've focused on just you know, making sure that it actually the robotics of it work perfectly, so before they launch mass marketing. Smart security is a topic that I'd love to talk to you about a lot, but I can't, because it's very confidential. But what I can say is that we're working with the Australian federal government, with a veteran-founded venture capital firm who invest in technology that changes the national security. With them, we've been introduced to a lot of parts of the federal government, and as an experts in AI, we've in a tender process with them at the moment, as well as talking to several agencies of how we can share our expertise, and that's a really exciting part of our new business. With the technology, as we both, Justin and I, mentioned, the partnership with or the joint venture with our friends at mind.com. We actually got introduced by one of the luxury car manufacturers in Germany to work in collaboration on the project for them, and we since have been working on understanding each other's businesses better, and also looking under the hood, understanding the technology. And we believe that this joint ventures is the perfect case of going fully multimodal in both voice, video, wearables, looking at vital signs, as well as anything that you can get from speech and video, images and video. And our partnership basically allows a rapid acceleration of being really competitive in the market. Please feel free to look at mind.com online to figure out what they do, but I'm sure that you all can easily see why the relationship with them is going to be a very prosperous one for both of us. Our technology is mainly on edge optimization. Theirs is, I've got to spelling mistake there on the screen, by the way. It's cloud, it's not could. So their technology is very much on the cloud, and together we have a very comprehensive data selection and ability to understand all the human emotions and mood and behaviors. The last point on the screen about large language models and small language models, we do interface and want to do connectivity to those parts, so that will further enhance our multimodal performance. And we also obviously work very closely with our advisory board, who are helping us in understanding which direction we should take our solutions. But multimodality is where our customers want us to go, as well as we know that's where the market is for the next few years and for the future. That's pretty much what I had on the plate. So I'll hand you over to Emily from Birchal. She's our campaign manager there, and she will take it from here. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Verpy. Really appreciate it. Hi, everybody. In case you don't know who I am, my name's Emily McFarlane. I'm the Senior Campaign Lead here at Birchal. I just wanted to give you a little bit of an overview of Birchal's role within the BeEmotion.ai crowdfunding campaign that is coming up. A few of you might be a little bit unfamiliar with what crowdsourced funding, or CSF, is. Some of you might know it as equity crowdfunding, but it's a relatively new form of fundraising in Australia, and it allows startups and smaller businesses to raise capital from a large number of smaller or retail investors, as well as wholesale or sophisticated investors, through an online platform such as Birchal. So it's an alternative form of fundraising, getting away from venture capitalists or bank loans, and it's often where companies can turn to the general public, often their communities, in exchange for equity in their business. So Birchal Financial Services will be the licensed intermediary for the offer. And I can see a lot of you have popped some questions in the Q&A box, so we can absolutely start going through those. So we've had a question around subcontracting out the coding to external companies. Will this be all done in-house now?
Thanks, Emily. Yeah, I'll jump into those questions, but I might just take a little bit of a step back and just for some completeness around that, and just so you all know, V in her travels copped a severe bout of food poisoning last night. So thanks, V, for battling through that and coughing. And I know you're not feeling fantastic, but I think it's just important. You know, I was saying this today to Matt. We've just come off a couple of more than one near-death experiences with these companies and with this company, and you can really get caught up in that, where I think it's now important that we sort of look forward and look forward to the current opportunity, where we can go from here, the market opportunity, the market subset, and also I suppose the funding, the best sort of funding path for the business is going forward. If you look at, I suppose for a minute, what we have, and we haven't had a lot of visibility on ownership, clearly, given that the experience that we've had to go through with Niviso SA, which was largely driven due to the actions of previous management. But it's pretty nice to have fresh air for the first time in a while. And I think if you look at the business, we've got data points into the hundreds of millions that are very difficult to replicate. There's certainly subsets out there that can be accessed through public domain, but it's the same subsets that can be accessed by everyone. So the models they run are typically going to give very similar outcomes, where a lot of our data that's been accumulated over the past 13 years has been through research projects with universities, surveys, pilots, etc., and even more so with European GPDR. A lot of that is now a significant barrier to entry for any companies coming into the space. So we certainly think that that's part of our competitive advantage. We've been well ahead of the curve with AI on the edge, so off cloud. Really important in environments like defence, and the current sort of partnership we have with one of the defence procurement agencies out there that we're in a final stages of a tender for. That's certainly been a huge selling point, having it, not that it can run on the edge, not on the cloud, is pretty important. Our technology is adaptable from what is a large language model. We've used our LPDNN to develop the models to where they are now. We feel, and we've spent quite a bit of time on this with our advisory body that I think V mentioned last time around, has a gentleman on that called Matteo Sorsi. Matteo was actually the original founder of Naviso, and Matteo has been re-engaged on a advisory basis, consulting basis. He works for EPFL, which is where our Swiss office is based, and he's certainly still at the forefront of everything AI, and has given us some fantastic advice into sort of where we should be going next, and the development of a small language model, we think, which is a lot less processing power required than these large language models, which are taking up huge amounts of bandwidth, memory, storage, computing power, electricity, everything else. So I think that's going to open up, particularly, maybe I'll flip back to there at some stage, but I think anything that's got sort of consumer behaviour, branding, consumer feedback, surveys, we're very well positioned for. And we think we've also got introduction into the gaming space, which is, I was in JB Hi-Fi today, and it seemed half the store was focused around gaming monitors, consoles, obviously, multi-billion-dollar industry. The beautiful thing about that subsector is that they are, there's obviously privacy issues here with people opting in, especially when you're recording their voice, you're recording them on video. Gamers are used to that. They're very comfortable with that. There's absolutely no issue whatsoever opting into to gaming. And I think, also, I have a strong view we're going to be part of the next wave of AI. So to date, it has been about either one, hardware, NVIDIA, everyone knows that story, pretty difficult to get exposure to. Well, you can, you know what I mean by that. You can certainly go and buy an NVIDIA, but I'm not sure how much upside's remaining there, or if I'd be buying it right now. Or generative AI, productivity, and same thing. You can indirectly get exposure to OpenAI, obviously, but it's not that easy, and probably nothing that's going to move the needle for anyone. So it's I think we are, with respect to AI on the edge, small language models, behavioural emotion, everything that we're doing, multimodality, I think we're really well positioned in that we do solve. We're real AI on the edge. We're deep tech, and we really do solve a problem. So perhaps if I just start to, and thanks, Emily, for that first question. I'll just address some of the Q&A, and then maybe come back to the cap raise after that. We do still subcontract out our coding. That gives us the ability to scale up and scale down. I think, as we've touched on previously, we do have bespoke pilot projects that require different levels of effort and commitment at various times. And so it's a mix of in-house and external consultants. A question there from Paul. Look, obviously probably more than one person who's interested in, what's the path to liquidity. I just don't feel that, we're the board's view is that we're here to build a real business and create value. And if you're going to list, you need to list for the right reasons. And it's all well and good that there's a lot of AI hype, and we may or may not obtain a fantastic valuation, but for me, that's not the sole driver. We want to build a real business. We are certainly conscious of shareholders that have been around for a considerable amount of time, but we are just, in one respect, the business is just getting started again. We've got 13 years of R&D. We're now ready to scale up. We're now ready to productize. We're not ready for the distraction of a listing event, given the amount of time and effort and distraction that myself and the team have had to allocate time to over the last 12 months to ensure that we do have a future. So there's some fairly exciting things we've got going on from a corporate perspective. We've discussed, V's discussed the opportunity with Mind, and where we'll look to potentially sort of formalise that and productise and continue to expand on that relationship, because we think multimodality is certainly the way forward. Pretty much every customer that comes in, they don't want only video, they want video and they want audio. And now we can deliver that, and we're one of a handful globally that can do it. And I don't think it's fair to say, I don't think anyone else is doing it super well, right? We got that company we're working with in the audio space replaced a multi-billion-dollar company that was doing audio for this luxury car brand. So we're very excited. We think combined we've got a really extremely strong offering. So I've digressed from the original question, but look, listing is not on the top of the list right now. We think there's other opportunities with respect to funding, and 12, 18 months out might be a different circumstance. Next question's around share structure. It's probably just best that I speak to and another question on the last capital raise price. I guess that's all tied in together. Capital structure, valuation, where are we at? If you remember, we did a rights issue last year, with which the participation from existing shareholders wasn't great, to be honest. That was, but that's fine. That was at 3 cents a share, which so you've correctly identified that. We're looking for fully diluted. There's around 450 million shares now in issue. Now that's on the basis that we've got the business has largely been funded by convertible notes over the last couple of years. So that's on the basis of everything converting. It's up around that 450 to 500 million shares. We're targeting a valuation of 8 cents a share. So it's around a 40 to 45 million Aussie dollar EV. And we've got, we've thought about this quite hard, but I think given all the reasons that I've just explained and what is going on in the AI world, and we've also been engaged in several discussions over in Europe and UK, which, if you do the currency conversion, I think we're actually still pretty cheap at that price. So we believe that even at that price, it's a compelling investment. opportunity. Someone's just made a reference to Australian AI chip company. Look, I know we've got some shareholders that also own BrainChip, which I assume is probably what you're referring to. It depends on the customer. So yes, we've run our software on the BrainChip hardware, and that's thrown off some pretty impressive frame rates in terms of the speed of the technology that it can run at. We've done that for one of the German automotive companies. We've also run Intel hardware for another project. So we are hardware agnostic, and the hardware is largely driven by the customer, not by us. We did just come off we just presented in I'm not sure where it was. Was it in Vegas?
I can jump onto this one because I think in general I think it's an interesting question because obviously one of the things that we need to be focused on is the relationships with the key hardware platforms and other suppliers within AI. So we can do our thing and we focus on, we are a software company. We don't hook ourselves into one brand at all, but it's important to build relationships, partnerships with them. And yes, BrainChip is one of them. And we basically just attended a big expo in the US with them. We shared their stand. So we do have a very, very close relationship with BrainChip, but as we do with Intel, NVIDIA, and other providers. But for a software company to be able to provide the perfect solution to their customers, we need to be aware of where the technology is going. So we're very much focused on following them up, and that's what you get from good partnerships.
Thanks, Vicky, for expanding on that. The revenue, good question. So yes, there is. We don't do anything for free. There is consulting revenue attached to all the pilots. It's a nice margin, but clearly it doesn't significantly move the needle. I think, apologies, I should know this, but I think FY24 will be circa 700,000 of revenue from the pilots over the course of this year. We're expecting that to grow. We've got a lot of tenders out there. We're expecting that to grow next year. But and some licensing revenue in there from Panasonic as well. But clearly most of these AI businesses aren't generating, well, other than obviously the big guys, aren't generating a lot of revenue at all. And so the key is to really productize, as I said, and convert these pilots to licenses. And I think what's important to touch on there, automotive is bloody slow. I mean, it's but when you get it, it is extremely sticky. You're in that vehicle, the cycle of turning over, developing a vehicle, and then putting out that particular model. I guess it's circa 5 to 7 years. So, and we will get paid on a per vehicle basis. So it's if we can get a couple of those signed up, that will move the needle. I guess sticking to financials, look, cash burn. We're now running the business very lean. Unfortunately, paid way more legal fees than I would have liked to over the last 12, 18 months, and hopefully that drops off a cliff going forward. But I think that we're at about 120 to 130 AUD a month. We want to grow that. Obviously, I mean, we're ready to now expand the offering, continue to build out the tech and productize. So that will likely grow post fundraising as we start to increase the headcount. Again, just a couple of questions on Birchal there. Available to non-Australians. I don't, Matt or Emily, you might jump in there. Just answer that, but I'll just finish off on the second piece, which I don't mind answering. Someone's just asked there, are we able to raise capital from other sources, private equity and high net worth family offices. I mean, yes, V's just presented in Geneva at a high net worth, ultra high net worth conference. There was a AI thematic with a female, a panel female CEO focus. We got some fantastic inbounds after that, and we've been marketing this company actively for months. But for me, it has not been investable until we've completed this restructuring process, which finally we've got line of sight on. So we've had to tread very carefully until such time that now we've made the initial touch points. Most of these are going to be related to, I guess you could call it our Series A, if you like. I think that will be later this year, early next. I would expect another reasonable uplift and raising a much larger piece of capital at that time. So most of the conversations that we're having around VCs, family offices, etc., are focused on the next round, not this round. And we're respectful to Birchal that all inbounds. No reason why we can't take money from any source. It doesn't need to be retail. Birchal has the ability to. They have actually, and Matt, you can expand. I think it's quite a few thousand sophisticated investors on their platform already. And so a party can come in via Birchal and invest a larger amount of money through this raise, but we have given exclusivity to Birchal for this raise. Just before I hand over to Matt and Emily on those, just to clarify that non-Australian, I might just offer just a quick read, why we've gone the crowdfunding route, and obviously crowdfunding is largely, it's an exercise to one extent in marketing, which the guys, I think, you can see from their track record, they're the preeminent cap raising for crowdfunding in Australia. They do a wonderful job. It really gives, for me, it gives exceptional market aware. They've got 400,000 investors on their database. It gives exceptional awareness for what we do. And so it serves a dual purpose from that perspective. It gives investors a chance to invest into deep tech AI, which they wouldn't get otherwise. And being extremely topical, we think that's going to resonate particularly well at the moment. You'd appreciate that at the stage where we are, because of all the events, going out and explaining the story to sophisticated investors. Australia's tough. Australia doesn't embrace deep tech. It's not a great home for it. We don't get the appropriate support. We don't get the subsidies. We don't have most of our family offices, etc., are in stay rich mode rather than get rich mode. There's a very small pool of competitors. As soon as you say you don't have a liquidity or listing event coming up, as you know, my day job is raising capital and predominantly for privates through KG Capital. And it's as tough as it's ever been. It's as tough as it's been since 2008. So we felt that in terms of what you may call a bridge raise to get us through to a larger raise, once we're up and firing, we've expanded on the team, we've productized, we've expanded on the JV. We think this is the most appropriate and efficient way to raise capital and tell the story about what we are now in BeEmotion, rather than where we've been and all the crap that we've had to go through. Matt or Emily, you might want to just quickly expand on.
Thanks so much, Justin. And for those that don't know, my name is Matt Vitale. I'm co-founder and CEO of Birchal, and we're absolutely delighted to be working with the team from BeEmotion on this offer. As Justin's mentioned, there aren't many opportunities to invest in companies like BeEmotion in the space they're in with the technology that they have available. And in particular, some of the things that excite us is the traction, the track record of this technology being used in the wild with some really interesting use cases, and the opportunities for expansion and growth as well, and particularly at this exciting moment where the company has, I suppose, transitioned towards an exciting new chapter of growth and looking to the future. The crowdsourced funding industry has been really active over the last few years, despite the fact that it has been a challenging time for fundraising, as Justin has mentioned. Birchal has hosted over 260 successful offers since we launched, and raised over 200 million through the platform. In FY23 to date, we've raised over $42 million. So all of this during a period of time that has been extremely difficult to raise capital. And the way we do it is helping companies tell stories, build communities, and raise capital online through the crowdsourced funding regime, which, as Emily mentioned earlier, is open to retail and wholesale investors. We will run a pre-offer marketing campaign, an expression of interest campaign, which is scheduled to open next week. But this meeting is really to ensure that BeEmotion's existing shareholders are involved in the process. And we've been working with Justin and Verpi on an incentive that will be offered to existing investors that are wholesale and investing in the offer above $10,000. Justin will be able to share some more information about this over the coming days, but it is an innovation as an incentive for lead investors and particularly existing shareholders to support the process. Answering some of the questions that have popped up in the Q&A, can international investors invest? Legal answer is it depends. It is possible, but it will depend on the circumstances of the individual. I would recommend to read Birchal's terms and conditions or reach out to us on support@birchal.com, and we can answer any specific questions to the extent that we are able to. And was that the main one? Any other questions about the?
I think so. We're okay to direct other sophisticateds through the Birchal offer as well, Matt, as I understand it.
Absolutely. And as part and parcel of all of the Birchal offers, there will be a range of activities to introduce this opportunity to Birchal's audience and a new audience. So there will be another webinar, and there may be some others once we're open the expression of interest campaign. But once we're into the expression of interest campaign, it is an awareness building exercise. Expect to see a bit about the BeEmotion campaign as we move through that. But there has been a lot of activity on the platform, particularly over the last few months. We're really excited for an excellent race.
Thanks, thanks, Matt. So just finishing off, and I just had another question there on the raise and the name change. So the capital raise is at 8 cents a share, and the incentive for wholesale investors that commit early in the process, we'll offer a 1-for-1 warrant at the same price. And that will act as effectively a cornerstone for the broader raise, which is due to go live on the 25th of June. There's a couple of boxes we need to tick. We're just completing our audited accounts and the settlement of the restructure, the acquisition, which is due to complete prior to that also. And we will look to hold our AGM, which we're targeting the end of June as well. The agenda there, which I would encourage everyone to support, is predominantly the change in name, which I don't think anyone will have a problem with. It is also, we want to simplify the constitution. My old friend had some incentives in that constitution that were embedded, that were directed to his personal company, which I would like to remove. and I don't think anyone will have a problem with that either. So we will look to go to a more typical standardised constitution for a public unlisted company. And there was a third as well, which is not coming to me right now. But anyhow, we'll get the notice of meeting out hopefully next week, actually, with 21 days notice that we can hold that AGM as well. And yes, share certificates. Everyone will get once that's been approved at the AGM. The registry will obviously change the name, and everyone will get new share certificates in the name of BeEmotion.ai Limited. So yeah, I would encourage you to go over and have a look at the website of our JV partner as well, Mind. That's spelt MAAIND, and as V alluded to, that'll give you a couple of clues as to who we're working with. They've had a little bit more luck on naming customers. Yeah, we're certainly pretty excited about how that relationship in particular is going to develop going forward, along with the BeEmotion customer and client projects also. So thanks. I think that's
Justin, can I interrupt?
Yes.
Our website has just been launched as well, so it is up live now. It's still under development, so it'll be improved, but it's up there for everyone to see.
Yeah, everyone can sort of jump on, and the old Naviso LinkedIn has been our primary communication, which is it's still live, but again, encourage everyone to jump onto the BeEmotion.ai LinkedIn as well, which we'll utilise that as the main as one of the main communication platforms, both to our customer base and investors as well. So thank you. I think that's was a fair bit to get through there. Thanks everyone for support, and would welcome your participation in the raise also. And feel free to shoot myself or V an email if you have any other questions or follow up.
Thanks, everybody. And if you do want to rewatch it, we will be sending the recording around as well.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.